we went out there, we were like fired up, man. I'm talking, I'd put my band up against anybody.
When I first heard you sing and I first heard your band, I was like, this is different.
Out of the blue, Doug goes, you can't play here anymore under the name Ratt. And I go, why? He goes, it makes the club look bad.
I was listening to a lot of hard rock at the time, and I remember thinking,
This is weird.
No, I remember thinking, this is the kind of band I want to be in.
I still go, wow, that's cool, man.
Don't give it away. We got to market.
Yeah.
Stephen, thank you so much for being here. I've wanted you on my show for so long, so I'm very honored to have you here.
Thank you, brother.
With a rock and roll life, you can jump in at any point, but I think with you, the simplest way to do it, because there's some musical points I want to get at, is to kind of start at the beginning, San Diego area, late 50s.
No, that would be, I was born in Long Beach, but anyway, ended up in
There's not a lot of great biographical information about your life.
Yeah, and even in the book, there's another one coming someday, but I ended up in, Los Angeles and whatever. I listened to music, but wasn't.
But I want to talk about your early life. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah, just give me your early life a bit, because for kids like us growing up in Chicago, this part of the world was the magical land.
Right.
You guys had Disneyland. You had sunshine. We didn't have any sunshine or Disneyland.
Yeah.
So there's kind of an idyllic version that we have from the Midwest of what
California.
Yeah. So I want you to give me your version as a kid.
Well, as a kid, God, you go to the beach, sleep overnight, surf, wake up, surf at 5, 6 a.m., smoke a lot of pot, and, hang out, try to get the girls. And it was cool because you could actually sleep on the beach and not worry about somebody plummeting you with like a baby seal. I wouldn't do it nowadays. But, you have your little gang and stuff. And I got into racing really young. I'd always see a race car across the street from my school, a funny car, NHRA drag racing funny car. So I was like, wow. And I drew a lot. So I draw, and this and that. And go touch it and everything. And then we moved again in LA, and there was another race car in the neighborhood. I'm like, well, this is interesting, right? So I go bother this guy.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we're moving to Westchester. I'm riding my bike. There's a dragster, right?
Oh, okay.
I become friends with this guy, and I'm like 14, and become his pit crew guy, right? It was crazy.
This would have been like, about
68, something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And I just got the bug for drag racing. It was like every weekend. It's loud, fast, exciting.
And in that time, in American culture, drag racing had a much bigger place than it does now. You think that's fair?
Yeah.
It was kind of celebrated, Evel Knievel. There was a lot of that kind of daredevil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And these guys are nuts. Drag racers,
especially back then.
They were the real guys. Now it's millions of dollars and
the roll cages, but back then they were
and
crazy.
It's not like when I was with them, you'd be sleeping under a truck going to a race, and that's what we did. And I was expected to go, I want to be a driver at 16.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't happen. I went to San Diego. We ended up moving to San Diego. My mom had remarried, and we lived on this hilly area. Anyway, not even a year being there, I get run over by a car, and break both legs and made a mess of me. And you're not going to walk again kind of stuff. And you're a kid going, holy
take me back through that story, because there's the information on what I could find was kind of very sketchy on this. Because I think I have a theory that our lives are often defined by trauma. Mm-hmm. Like they send us in a particular direction.
Definitely.
Okay, so you're just walking down the road, somebody runs you over? Or?
No, I'm on a bike, leaving my friend's house. We were smoking out, and I could do. And I'm on a bike and collision course.
Ooh.
And anyway, it busted me up. And I was like 6 months on my back in the hospital and, wow. Anyway, through a lot of prayer and in wheelchair to graduate into crutches. Then I got into music. Somebody gave me a guitar, acoustic guitar.
Just to give you something to do?
In the hospital. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of adapted to it. And then when I got out and I was at home, all I could do was, I was in a wheelchair and recuperating. So it was play. So I started playing. Then it was like, really going to see the bands. The San Diego Sports Arena was real close. So
who would you have seen in that?
Oh man, you see like Black Sabbath, Blue Öyster Cult, Foghat one weekend. The next weekend you'd get Blue Öyster Cult and so. They were always there. It almost seemed like every weekend there was a concert, right? David Bowie, it was great. So I really got into music. And then I started really playing guitar first, became a guitar player. And then somebody coaxed me into singing. And I started singing once in a while in bands. You play at the beach.
Sure.
We play in the canyon.
Well, once you figure out there's excitement, attention, money, and girls attached to it.
Right. And free everything, and which created the catastrophe, the band Ratt.
We'll get there.
So I become this like, I'm singing. I'm just this long-haired beach guy. Okay, they like my hair, so can you sing? It was just like, okay, nothing better to do. Smoke a lot of pot and have fun. Go to the beach, sing with these bands, and I got to play guitar. And then I started singing and playing guitar, and then really getting into it. That was around 1976, 77.
Hey, can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah,
because when I first heard Ratt, and I'm not trying to jump ahead as much as I'm just trying to define why I want to talk about this so much. I was a typical suburban Chicago heavy metal fan, like a lot of us were in the Midwest. But when I first heard you sing and I first heard your band, I was like, this is different. So in doing research to talk to you today, I saw references to Kiss, Bowie. I wrote them down. It's good because I think it kind of gave me a sense of New York Dolls, Alice Cooper. But I mean, who would you say kind of gave you that non-typical hard rock influence? Because I've always heard that in your music.
Yeah.
Even to today, I hear your music. Because most heavy metal guys or rock guys or whatever,
sure,
it's in a weird way they have almost a limited set of influences. Where your influences, I always felt. So I want you to kind of tell me.
They were broad.
Okay, so give me some of those so I can understand.
Like I bought Jeff Beck Blow by Blow, the album. I liked live albums. I'd buy Jimi Hendrix live, Led Zeppelin live, and then until when I saw Zeppelin, forget it. It was in '73. It was over. It was like, whoa, enlightened, right?
So the musician in you, circa 76, 77. What would you define what it was you were hoping to do, or was it still too soon to figure that out?
No, because we had backyard parties. You charge $1, and you needed better gear. So I started figuring out the little business aspect of it, and in doing so, anyway, I was really into Blue Öyster Cult, believe it or not, like hardcore. I think some of my chords and stuff that I write with are Blue Öyster Cultish.
Very interesting.
I don't know why.
Very interesting guitar band.
And sweet.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. The glam kind of part of your...
And Bowie, Ziggy Stardust. Forget about it. And...
But most rock guys, if you sat down and talked to them, they know who Bowie is, but they didn't sit there and listen to Ziggy Stardust.
Sure.
But I always heard that in your music. You brought a broader kind of glammy sense.
And I had a direction, and when I started really Mickey Ratt, we actually became a band. Like, I'm gonna do this for real.
Yeah,
that was 70, late 78, 79, going through a couple guys or whatever, and then I became this singer, rhythm guitar player guy, and I liked it. I didn't want a noodle. I didn't want to, so that's where the Kiss thing came in. I'll be that Paul Stanley guy, and I'll play guitar and you be the lead guitar player like Buck Dharma, which my guitar player was the lead guitar player at that time.
So you had a vision of it rhythmically from you here.
And then when a friend of mine kept hounding me. We were living in San Diego. We were playing big gigs. I mean, Mickey Ratt was, we had no competition. Robbin had his band Phenomenon. Jakey Lee had his band Teaser.
Yeah.
Warren had his band Exciter. And then I had Mickey Ratt. And there were other bands that were kind of big, but Mickey Ratt kind of became a big band. We played all the Golden Hall, Plaza Hall, Bing Crosby Hall. We were playing these big places. But nothing was happening, right? So a friend of mine, I mean, you think about, wow, I want to be on a record, I want to record. And to this day, I still record off the cassette or anything I can find, preferably a cassette, normal. And I started doing that back then. So a little off the track here. So I when a friend told me, you got to see this band in LA called Van Halen, I was like, all right, okay. Van Halen, another band, okay. We had gone up there before and saw Quiet Riot and made trips here and there just to see. But the day I went out by myself, I drove up by myself, and I don't know if I brought gear or anything, a pocket of weed. And I knew there was a backstage at the Whiskey. My friend said, there's a backstage. They go up this, these things. We had not played there. I mean, Mickey Ratt, this was 78.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, I see, true story. It's bitching because it's so surreal. I kick myself sometimes and go, do you know the kind of you've seen and it was like no big deal, but it was a big effect in my life. I saw David Lee walking up steps. I said, that might be doing, hey, you want to smoke a joint? I'm yelling at this guy.
Right guy to ask.
Right guy to ask, right? I wasn't interested in him. My friend went, you got to see the guitar player,
yeah.
Because I was a guitar guy. So anyway, I smoke a joint with him and I go, later, where's the guitar guy? And I'm tripping around the Whiskey backstage by myself, I was ready for anything. And there's Ed, right? I go, you're the guitar guy, right? And somehow we just connected and just started talking, right? And we're talking about equipment. I go, yeah, I love Vox. I got an old Vox 30. And he just lit up like a firecracker. He goes, well, I got one and I need another one. Can we exchange numbers? You come up to LA, come to my pad and bring it. And I go, what are you, nuts? I just got done watching something that was like a circus. You're looking at Dave and I'm like, I got to figure out my system, what I'm actually going to do in this business. Be a singer, be a guitar singer guy. So anyway, when I saw that 4-piece, I went, okay. Anyway, next. And then a whole new world began. And
so if I'm following your flow here, Van Halen helped you define, like, okay, if this is going to be the standard, if this is what's coming, I got to get serious and 100%. I need to figure out who I am in this game.
100%. I'm moving to LA. And I went January 1, 1980. Who's going? We're living in a garage about this size. Yeah. And we're going to practice there. Yeah. And I'm going to hustle and get us gigs.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did.
Wow.
But in the meantime, I kept going up to see Ed and saw their whole blossoming into the biggest band on the planet. I was like, holy Oz Festival. I mean, backstage you going, whoa.
It was bonkers, yeah.
Mickey Ratt, come on. You got to do something different here. So anyway, as my band was, Mickey Ratt was imploding around 1981. Jakey was in the band. He left. And
can I stop you there for 1 second, though?
Yeah.
Before we get to Robbin Crosby?
Yeah.
I mean, Jake's obviously a phenomenal guitar player, but I'm just curious because, you guys did the single Dr. Rock.
He's not on it, and he didn't write. People think he did, but no.
Because everywhere you look, he says he's on it.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so set aside Jake. Nothing against Jake, but was Dr. Rock sort of the first time where it's like, it's serious, you're putting out a single?
I have to put out a single.
It feels serious.
100%.
Okay.
And I found a studio in Venice, California, because we lived in Culver City.
Yeah.
And we weren't into Rat Mansion West yet, the 1-bedroom apartment, right? We were still in the hut. So, and anyway, where were we?
Well, it's something about Dr. Rock to me. Because I'm a fan from the beginning. So but it's interesting to go back and follow the bouncing ball, right? You know what's coming, But it's like, okay, at what point does this thing kind of get serious and click
Well,
in?
as soon as I moved into town, because I had been watching Van Halen from 78 to 1980.
Yeah.
And I saw what they did. They went to Gazzarri's. They became the house band. Then they worked their way to the whiskey, became the house band. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I followed their schematic. I was taking notes, man.
Yeah.
I was looking at the lights, the clothes, and then going back to San Diego. People were going, Mickey Ratt's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm learning some things, you know.
But Dr. Rock seems to be the first time you step forward as a fan of your music. It seems the first time it's like, okay, there it is.
I have to write a song.
No, but also there it is.
There it is.
Like there's the foundational formula. What ends up being a huge...
I couldn't get in the door. I tried to get gigs. You know, I was walking around. I was my own agent. I didn't know anything. You know.
But I love music in that. It's interesting to watch. Like, there's that moment where Jimi Hendrix becomes Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
Like, you see clips of him playing behind Little Richard or something. And you're like, there's Jimi Hendrix. Like, but he ain't Jimi Hendrix yet.
Sure.
It isn't until he goes to England and he works with, Chaz Chandler. And so it all happens. Jimmy Page was a studio musician.
Yeah, right. John Paul Jones.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He ends up being in the Yardbirds. He needs a lead singer. He asked Steve Marriott to join. Steve Marriott says no thanks because I'm Steve Marriott.
People did, right?
Right. I don't need you. I mean, he's Steve Marriott.
Right.
He goes out and finds Robert Plant at 19, and John Bonham just happens to be attached to the singer.
Right. Isn't that
so I'm saying
crazy?
It's always interesting when things are successful, you can find that moment where it sort of clicks.
Well, it happened with us. With us, it happened, we had a good thing with Jake. He just wanted to be a one guitar guy. But I heard two guitars in my songs. So when I wrote Driving on E and Dr. Rock, we just had to have something to get in the door. Here, this is my band, and have a photo. So, I did whatever I could. But
now, is it Ratt or Mickey Ratt?
It was Mickey Ratt, but Ratt was bigger. I was trying to make that transformation. Okay. And the reason that came about is where the Kiss thing again comes in is I loved their logo. That it was just one thing, four things, and I went, Ratt.
And Ratt's such a great band name.
It's trippy.
How did no one think of it before?
I know. Yeah, right. And so I designed the logo and it went through whatever. But anyway, where it really clicked was, when Robbin used to come to our shows a lot because his band imploded when he brought it to LA, and my band was getting ready to implode. So when Jakey finally left to do Dio or whatever it was, and then he got Oz. Yeah. But Robbin used to always come to our gigs and force his way on stage and play. He just wanted to play because he was living in LA. His band abandoned him, right? So he was like a mainstay. And then we were always tripping around, me and Robbin, going to see the new bands, Motley, et cetera. And then it was like, you know what? One night, Robbin and I just went, let's start this band. Yeah. Let's be really serious about this and let's start Mickey Ratt. And I went, Ratt. And I went, let's go. And there you go. The phone call started happening.
So, because before Robbin shows up in your life as a musician, I can certainly hear what you were going for. But something about the way Robbin played guitar and wrote riffs seems to suddenly click.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, because Mickey Ratt music is different than Ratt music.
Yes.
It's almost like my solo stuff. I like to go all over the place. But with Ratt, Robbin and I, we knew it was almost like we wrote it out. We need an image. We need to do this. Yeah. And it was that time, 81, 82, the whole European Maiden, Leopard, Motley was happening. We became friends and everybody started getting a little showy. So, and of course we love Aerosmith. That's why we do Walking the Dog. And so I heard two guitars and Robbin heard two guitars, and Robbin was happy being this guitar guy, just holding down because he, when you mentioned Hendrix, he would go places, and then you have Warren. And then when we got Warren, everything changed, and then it was almost like overnight on the Cellar tour, that guy just became this brilliant guitarist. Yeah. Warren. And we just clicked the way we wrote. It's like, what do you got? Like Round and Round. It was written at Ratt Mansion West, sitting around 2 tape recorders with guitars, and me just, da, 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 da. And so we kind of created a system of writing,
Can you walk me through that? Because I love this stuff.
It would be like, who's got what? Because it was 4 guys.
And are you writing riffs too? At this time?
100%.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know to say something that, but yeah, a lot of the riffs. I would come in with riffs and let them do what they do.
But is it fair to say, because I love the way Robbin plays guitar?
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that even if you wrote the riff, the way Robbin plays, it becomes like that's the sound?
100%. With Warren now.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But, and I didn't really realize it because again, I've been listening to you literally since. Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Day one.
No, well, not day one, but close. There's something about the way Robbin plays guitar, Warren plays leads, and the kind of the glam influence sort of pipe through early 80s LA Sunset Strip music. Right. It's like, there it is. And when you guys click, it's like, that's the sound.
Okay, see, turned to that with, I'd have to say a lot of my direction, because these guys were all over the place. I'd have to, I was pretty much arranging things around.
But that's why I was asking about early influence, because when I went back and listened to the early stuff, I hear you doing Ratt before Ratt. But isn't it interesting that you had the blueprint?
Sure.
You had the sort of vision of what you were after.
I didn't have the components.
Well, but again, you know how it is with musicians. You can bring one drummer in a room and say, hey, play this beat. Right. And it does nothing for you.
Correct.
And another drummer will come and play the exact same beat, and you go, that's it.
Right.
So something about the way Robbin, even if Robbin was playing your riffs, something about
100%.
It's like, it's so stark to me once I think it through.
Robbin was a huge Hendrix fan. He was huge Scorpions. He listened to stuff that was like, he went up there and abused his guitars. He started out being the main guy. And Warren got so good so fast, we kind of went, well, we're going to make Warren. We actually thought out our moves, Robbin and me, for the band. We're going to make Warren the guy now. I'm going to kick back and be the rhythm guy.
Not a bad decision.
and we put him in the forefront because he was progressing like just.
He's phenomenal musician.
Slow down,
Even if you watch, because sometimes I'll check in on what you guys are up to, and I'll see clips of him playing now, 2025.
I got to tell you, it's so crazy, but and then here we are. We can get into that, years later, and it's like it's like being on stage in 1980s again. There's the guy, right? Yeah, there's my guy.
But he plays at such a phenomenally high level.
And we cover each other on stage. If I'm up or misses up, he'll give me a kick, nothing's changed out there. And we laugh just like this. We go, holy, that's funny. Yeah. Or we have a little chat up there going, this is insane. You know those moments.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like there's no time passes, but then here you are and you're still in this garage somewhere. Yeah.
Right. It's surreal.
Let me ask you this question. Because you'd spent years trying to put together what became Ratt, and that's easy to say. It's like, well, there's the success, but obviously it just didn't happen in a hot second. But was there something you were looking for in the people you were working with? Like, was it a focus or a dedication or a musical vision, or was it right people?
It was dedication, and what happens with success besides excess is the other cess. And that's the one where you spin out for a while and you don't know who's doing what. Everybody's in their own world and it just ain't going to work, Yeah. And then the tires start falling off and that's what happened. And but like I say, when Warren's up there, like now, we did the Invasion celebration playing the music of Ratt. Yeah, everybody's like, why isn't it Ratt? I'm like, that's not the point. The point is Warren and I, the main guy, two main guys haven't seen each other in 8 years. Can we get acquainted, before we start talking about a Ratt, because as far as I'm concerned, it's Ratt. All we can do is play the music. And I knew when Robbin to be honest, and I say it all the time, is I knew when Robbin was going down and he finally passed, that was it. I knew it. I went, well, we did it.
I see.
And went into my stupor for a bunch of years and came out of it years later. But you don't need 40 years later. It's like you look at what's happening with the 80s scene right now, which really trips me out. It's very commercial now. It's like beyond commercial. It's hair metal now,
Sure, whatever they call it today.
It's punk. It's this. So I tell peers, hey, man, embrace that. If you're not in the hair metal scene 40 years later, you should be lucky, because bands are out there with one guy. And
well, Rudy Sarzo, who sat in that very chair, he's out there with Quiet Riot. Rudy's the greatest.
Yeah, and you see, I get it.
Yeah.
You know what it is. At the end of the day, it's about the music, right? Sure. And it's supposed to have I have so much fun out there now the last however many years because we have a whole new direction. Everybody's, like I was saying out there, there's business and then there's business. And granted, if it's there, I'll do the business because I like the music business. I don't like a lot of it. I don't like that nobody can make money anymore. Nobody can make records.
Yeah.
Why are you afraid to make a record? It's like, and I'll make them all day long. I write every day. What are you going to do with this?
Yeah.
I already have enough of it sitting around, But, I got to tell you, this whole scene, how, like we were mentioning out there, it's the comeback or whatever you want to call it, the 80s is so huge,
Yeah.
These people really loved that time,
Well, I never had a problem with it. I mean, I was considered part of the generation that helped kill the 80s music, but I love that music.
Yeah, right. But why not? And now a lot of those guys, I mean, who was it recently was playing Round and Round? I got a clip of it. Anthrax.
Yeah.
And I go, I'll sing that with you guys. We really nuts. And I told them too. I'm that. I love that. If I want to get a kick, I'll go, which I do. I'll go, I had the story about Duran Duran, and I go, I'm going to re-record Girls on Film and send it to Simon.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Just to have fun. Or I want to do Wander. I've always liked that song. Let's go play it. That's what I love about my guys, But
that's what I was trying to set up before, is this idea that I think the endurance of your music, because as you know, when you've had success, people tend to focus on one particular period of time.
Sure.
I deal with it too. And it's at the end of the day, it's great. It's fine. But but
there's more to it.
There's way more to it.
Way more to it, because I listen to it and play music that people would go, what?
Yeah.
And I'm going to take it there on this next record. Like I told you, hope, you and I could get something there, but
don't give it away. We got to market.
Yeah. and but nowadays I've slowed down a bit, but I still like going out there. To me, it's like exercise.
It's an interesting odyssey in your musical life that you ended up on Metal Massacre 1 for Metal Blade.
Isn't that crazy?
With Metallica and Steeler.
And they re-released actually recently. I was gonna bring you something. The Reach for the Sky 45, the single I found 40 years later. But Metal Massacre, when that went down, I was telling Brian, see, as a trip is, as I would be strolling down the strip trying to get gigs, right, banging the troubadour in the day. No, I would see Rick Rubin and I'd see Brian doing the exact same thing, hustling. And then years later, I'm like, holy, there's that dude we used to trip and bump into. Hey, wait a minute, I used to bump into Rick Rubin all the time.
So you were the one knocking on the doors, getting the gigs?
I was the one hustling, taking care of business, and it was a trip. Let me tell you, it wasn't always.
Give me the like you're in an unknown band.
Well,
What's
and I'm
the
going,
spiel?
hey, they go, well, I'll tell you a trippy story. Look, Troubadour, right? All right, so it's like
you guys at the Troubadour just blows my mind.
Yeah, I was at the Troubadour. So we start playing. I want a gig at the Troubadour. So anyway, they go, well, you got to go to the guy's house. I'm like, okay, who? Doug Weston. I don't know this guy.
Well, it says on the site, Doug Weston's Troubadour.
Well, let me tell you, he was a wacky. And anyway, I got in and out of that house as fast as I could, but I left my. Well, lo and behold,
why'd you run out of the house?
It was just not right. When you have that feeling like this is a trip, because when you used to trip around with Motley and those guys in the you'd be on a bus at 3:30 in the morning trying to go to back to the garage, and you'd see some weird or end up at a weird party, those guys and us, and chicks with dicks. I mean, just wacky, right? But Hollywood, you go, it's Hollywood. So anyway, that was my first thing. So I get into the Troubadour, right? And people knew us, and we brought in some people, but we had to play at, how many stages did he have there? He had one, and then the main one was the one you wanted. But we ended up playing there, and then we played there about half a dozen times. And out of the blue, Doug goes, you can't play here anymore under the name Ratt. And I go, why? He goes, it makes the club look bad. And I'm like, gotta be kidding me. So, Motley guys and the couple of the Ratt guys, me, Robbin, we used to run around and call ourselves the Gladiators, right? And, cause trouble. So anyway, I go, all right, Doug, I'll play here under the name Gladiators. Full blown, have the ticket still, but there's a Ratt stamp on it, yeah. And we had a line sold out. And then he went, okay, you can come back as Ratt. And I go, Doug, I don't want to play here anymore, man. The whiskey's my gig. That's the next step, boing, boing,
Yeah.
Because if you play here, you can't play there a month later, 2 months later, whatever. But it was kind of cool. And lo and behold, I got my way into the whiskey and followed the schematic, and it worked.
Talk a little bit about the first EP. Was that on Atlantic, or you guys did it on your own, right?
We did it. Marshall
It later came out.
Manager.
Yeah, okay. That's where I get confused.
Yeah, he was like, you guys need a record. Motley had just put out Too Fast for Love.
And they were selling them out of their trunk.
And they were doing good. Motley was... And we were right behind them.
Who financed the record?
A partner of Marshall's, and it didn't cost much. We went in there over Thanksgiving weekend, if correct. Bobby knows everything. But I think it was over a Thanksgiving weekend or something. And we went in, recorded, next day mixed, and it was done.
Oh, one day?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
a couple day, a weekend event. And that was it. But it was us live. We were recording live in there. And that record is so bad. I still want to try to get it out, or I will. I'll get it out.
What's prohibiting it coming out or being reissued? Or
some things need to be finalized. Before, but it's out there, so it's like it's not even going to make a difference if I put it out there. It's already there. People had it. 43 years later.
So here's where I come into your story. Somehow I'm in Chicago, living in a basement. 1983, I believe, is the year, and somehow I get the "You Think You're Tough" 7-inch.
Wow!
So that's the first time I ever heard Ratt.
Wow!
Before the first album.
Then you got the Atlantic.
No, I got the...
Yeah, we re-released it.
I know, but I got the...
Wow, the single.
On the original vinyl, the original label, Time Lapse.
Time Coast.
Right.
Oh, keep it. There's only so many of those.
So somehow one of those found its way to me.
Mm.
And I was listening to a lot of hard rock at the time, and I remember thinking...
This is weird.
No, I remember thinking... This is the kind of band I want to be in because it had those other influences.
Yeah.
The knock on heavy metal, and I love heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
So yell at me if you want, not you, them. But the knock on heavy metal from people who don't love heavy metal is stupid.
Yeah.
Or it's too much about Vikings and.
Yeah. Right.
But your music didn't. It sounded, because I was also listening to Adam Ant and.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is different, but I couldn't. It's whatever I was 15. I could.
different. I'm telling you, dude, Adam Ant was a big influence on, and I hate to say it, Duran Duran, because I loved fashion. And
is it influenced kind of the way you used to sing up top? Because you didn't sing like when your voice is high, you don't sing like a lot of rock singers. You almost sing more like an alternative singer. I hope you know what I mean by the genres.
I would say maybe, yeah.
You know, alternative singers sing a little bit more emotionally.
Sure.
It's not about hitting the big note or being tough.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's more of a vibe. That's why when you think Adam Ant, the way he sings up high, it's more of a thing. So when I think of you up high, it's like a thing. Does that make sense? I know we're not talking music language.
It does. I don't know if it would make sense to somebody else, but to us, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but it's weird. I tell people, Adam Ant, yeah. I mean, I got turned on to them in like 82.
Yeah, 82.
Before, you know, one. And I'd go to these dance clubs. It'd be Duran Duran. And
Stand and Deliver. You know,
all of that. And it was so bitchin'. I go, and then when the image thing came around, we were kind of fashiony. You could think, what are they trying to heavy metal Duran Duran? Now, I was like trying to do anything, right? Find our niche. We didn't want to be the leather studs.
Even when even I remember seeing you on television early 80s, and you looked more alternative to me.
Yeah, we did. But
I'm saying you in particular.
Yeah. Well,
was that conscious in your mind, or was that just who you were?
No, what was conscious was we wanted to look different. We wanted to look like a gang, you know, like Motley had their own little thing, you know. We wanted all of us just to look like a gang, you know, like pirates, you know, and that was our cement, you know, our image came up, and Robbin and I kind of created, you know, we were cement pirates, man, you know, and so we might as well look it, you know, and then
cement
we
pirates, I like that.
Yeah, right.
Walking up and down the strip in your ship.
But at one time we were getting a little fashiony, and actually fashion metal. We tried it. You know, you do what you have to do, because the OG guys in the 80s scene, believe it or not, were people from Metal Massacre. They were Armored Saint, Bitch, Ratt, Wasp, Motley. There were other bands. Snow. There was not Snow. Venice. There were plenty of other bands that were huge that didn't make it. But the OGs, it's really interesting. You think about it. You know, I don't know if Betsy Bitch is on there, or Bitch is on that one. But Metallica. I mean, we did a couple gigs with Metallica, you know. One at a roller rink, Billy Barty's roller rink, you know.
Billy Barty, wow.
Billy Barty's roller rink. Metallica and Ratt. How about that? And then we played together with Saxon.
Okay.
And that's really what kind of opened the door for us. You know,
how did the harder rock metal fans see you guys at that time? Were they cool with you, or were you too melodic? Because
interesting. No, because when we went out there, we were like fired up, man. I'm talking, you know, I'd put my band up against anybody. Yeah, I mean, dead serious. Like, you want to go there? Let's go. You know, get up, and it was all about just, you know, and we were heavy.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When I heard you think you're tough, I'm like, it's heavy, but it's cool.
Really melodic, right?
But it's cool too.
Yeah.
It has Robbin. A swagger or something.
Yeah, you could talk about Robbin's writing. That's Robbin. I just arranged it and did the lyrics.
What a riff!
You know, I know, right? And we probably got in trouble for that too, because you'd go see bands, right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think we did, but...
tell me.
Well, I think... I actually know the band, too. Robbin and I went to Orange County to see, who was it? Probably Wasp and some other band. Oh, what was their name? But they had a riff like that, and I think Robbin kind of took it in and really not going, you know, and just turned... Well... Knock, knock. Here,
okay.
You've swiped our song. But
you can't really copyright a riff, I think. That's my legal understanding. I'm not a lawyer, but...
Yeah, you can't trademark your name. What is it? Song titles.
Okay.
That's what it is. But Yeah, but anyway, we got slapped. But it was a great song. I remember the first time hearing that. Again, Rob and I were always out on the strip, right? Always doing a scene. And I remember we were coming home from who knows where, and You Think You're Tough comes on one of the big stations, KMET. We're like, whoa, the song's on the radio, yeah. And then we turn it to another stage. It's on again, right? And we just looked at each other and went, okay,
it's on.
Here we go.
There's, unfortunately, when people think of Robbin's life, they often think about his issues with addiction and obviously his health issues. But you're standing at, let's say we're right at the moment before you guys take off, and when you take off like a rocket.
Yeah.
Was he having issues at that point, or was he just everybody was just partying and it was just
everybody was just everybody?
Yeah.
Nothing changed. I mean, we were just the way we were.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us, all five of us. No one of us can say, no, I had my together.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for actually Marshall keeping everybody in line for as long as he did, and I talk to him to this day, and because we shared some crazy moments, man, he headlined Madison Square Garden, you do that kind of, and to be honest with you, I say this, and I've said it before, I don't remember a lot of those years. It's almost like it never existed.
Is it because you were messed up, or is it just a blur?
No, it
just a blur?
It was just a blur. I acknowledge some great things like headlining home, your arena at San Diego or the Forum or Madison, but anything else in between, it's like wiped from my memory. And I'm being serious.
Well, why do you have a reason for that, you think?
No, it's just that it was just, somebody put something out about the life of musicians recently, and I sent it to Christy, actually. I go, here, check this out. We were just talking about
Christy's your wife, yeah?
Yeah, how weird it is for musicians. You're in front of however many thousands of people, and all of a sudden, you're in a room. Silence. Well, I think,
except for the whistling in your ear, but
right, and because there were times when we couldn't go out, and especially when you're like in Japan and stuff, and it's just like surreal. It's almost like, is this really going down? I get it, we're popular and whatever, but some of this is kind of funny, So I kind of may be out there, but I don't, and I tell people sometimes, I go, man, I don't know what happened, but I lived through it, All
right, well, let's light the fuse on the rocket.
Yes.
We're lighting the fuse on the rocket.
Oh, yeah.
So Atlantic shows up at some point.
Oh, yes.
Tell me that day.
Beverly Theater, if I'm correct. We have a showcase, and I don't know if it's the one with Lita Ford opening, but we had some Atlantic guys come down because we were drawing big. Motley had, next step, went to the next step, opening up for Ozzy. And arena, whatever. And we were next. We couldn't play in LA anymore. We played Santa Monica Civic. You play here. Well, we're going to play. Can't play anywhere. Okay. So we showcased at Beverly Theater. Great gig. Atlantic was there, and they signed us on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that crazy. And me and, Robbin and I would be going, if it's good enough for Zeppelin and the Stones, it's good enough for Ratt. And off we went.
Yeah.
And
what was your, because the producer was Beau Hill?
Beau Hill.
Okay. Well, but before Beau Hill sort of shows up in this mixture, this cocktail, what was your vision for the album?
Well,
were you thinking we have to pivot to be slightly more commercial? We got to do exactly what we're doing.
I think our whole trip was like, we have the opportunity now to really try to make a record. And we got serious, Yeah. A lot of those songs on the record, we had played live. So, we wanted that live thing on the record.
Yeah.
Beau was a staff producer. It's kind of like we got signed, but only if that guy is producing the record, Doug Morse.
Yeah.
So it was a weird thing. We didn't care. We were in the studio. Let's rock, nothing changed. We were partying, do our thing, and we, laid it down. And
Because there's not a tremendous amount of difference in your musical vision before Bowie shows up as producer.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously harnessed something that was important. So give me that part of it.
Okay, with Bo, and I still love it to this day, is we actually had a system of working with me, because he would come up with ideas and I would be open-minded. Why not, right? Hey, whatever works.
Okay.
So you do the best you can, but he had some great ideas and some words and things. But as we went along, like another Platinum Plus record, another Platinum Plus record, another it started getting trippy to where I didn't even want to write lyrics until I give him my songs. I go, here's one of my songs. You guys work with it, So we have all the songs. I'm talking like maybe Reach,
okay,
or Dancing, or one of those, and to where it got weird. The guys, and I didn't know what I was singing, because Bo would always make me change, so I would never get really hung up on what I was writing after the first two records.
Okay, if you can quantify what he was asking you to be as opposed to what you had sort of brought in.
He wanted more commercialism.
Okay.
I mean, hit. I mean, you gotta understand, when Sell It happened and Round, it was like, we need another one of those. We did another one, and we had no break. That's another downfall of this of the band, is we never had a break.
Yeah, you go tour, record,
and good luck. Okay, for the first two records, it's okay, but after that, as you know, you can beat yourself up, and that started happening. But in the studio, it was cool, because I liked Bo. He would give me great ideas, and I'd try them. Why not, right? Mm-hmm. And I appreciate it more now, because over the years and on some of these records, I've had the opportunity to write with some of the best writers. I love it. I mean, man, Desmond, Jim Valance, Hudson, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge,
So you were cool with, I know this is a lame
trying anything.
But let's call it
without giving it up.
Well, because
we did, and it didn't work.
Because I know Nicky decently well. We were friendly for a while and talked a lot. Nicky had always struggled with Motley Crue's integrity, how fans viewed Motley as a rock band versus the commercial necessities of being a big band. And Nicky was a commercial writer.
Sure.
So, he wrestled with that. So in your case, it seems like you didn't really wrestle with that. You were kind of...
I was open to because, hey, I always did what I did, write songs.
Yeah.
It either works or it doesn't work. Those guys take it, they arrange it, or Bo gets a hold of it, and then it's like, wow, that's way cool. And I'm literally talking the song, way cool.
Yeah.
He has a lot to do with that.
Because the width in your singles is pretty wide.
Yes.
It's not like there's just kind of this one Ratt sound and you guys had some success. There's some really interesting choices, different feelings, different...
And I love that. See, that's one thing that only we got away with,
Well, of the bands of your particular generation that came out of this scene in LA.
Yeah.
I mean...
And I'm proud of that, because we tried, and it worked for us, like, way cool. Rock band gets away with
But
that.
I think it has a lot to do with the way you sing.
Yeah, presentation, sure.
No, but I go back to the quality of your voice being sort of different. I think you didn't fall into like the traps that's like rock singers fall into, like I got to sound tough or I got to do this.
And it's interesting as we're talking about singing and stuff. It's like, when you're out there, I've had a peeve lately about people bitching about...
Tell me your peeve.
About people, be it fans or other musicians or whatever, like giving other musicians shit, for like, well, he doesn't sound like he sounds... Well, 40-some years later, I don't think so. Do you sound like you sound 40 years later?
Yeah.
He doesn't move like that. I mean, granted, there are some guys that should kind of pull out. I even tell my peers, hey... whatever, dude. But that's only love, right? But I go, well, no, I don't sound like that. There's no way I'm gonna go body talk. Some of these songs. I mean, shame. Forget about it. Warren, hey, can we do this song? I'm like, are you out of your mind?
I did within the last couple of years. I do this with artists I really love. I'll go back and I listen to the albums all in a row, basically how they came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem as your albums went on through let's call it Ratt period number 1.
The 10-year.
Okay, whatever. But you seem to sing higher and then higher. And what was that about?
I don't know. And you know what? It's like,
by the end of that run, you're singing so freaking high.
And dude, I was beat that still. Bo would beat me up. But I got to tell you, the other day, I heard one of our songs and it was so fast. I'm like, turn it down. I mean, the speed down. It was like, wee. And I'm like, oh God, I'm trying to complain about that. Who put that out there? Granted, It's not like Page going, house is the holy, right?
Yeah.
Spin it up to make plants sound low,
yeah.
But no intention. But Bo would just work my shame, right? When we did the Detonator tour, I might have gotten away with it a little now and then, but you work with it.
Okay, so because it's the most explored part of your life, that's why I'm least interested in exploring, not because I'm not interested. I just feel like a lot of that information is out there.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's not to skip past these incredible years because there's a lot of great music.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
But now that you know, and you know how it ended, let's call it Ratt period number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your take sitting here today on how you view that period? Do you have empathy for yourself? Do you think I would have done it differently? I'm cool with it, how it all went down, or
1000% I would have done it differently. Because when I created the band Ratt, as my boys know, and they know now, that everything would have kept working if you just, I didn't have all the answers. I just created the thing. You know what I mean? And I liked and there was a lot of my songs, the whole EP is all me. I wrote the whole EP except for Tough. I give Robbin credit because he was my right-hand man. It's like, yeah, brother, why not? But, I did a lot of those riffs and stuff, and it could have been cool. It just got,
So what
happens? It happens.
Okay, but
I get it.
In a summary way, what if we're sitting like we're sitting here, give me like your 2 or 3 reasons, like why did it go sideways?
Too many cooks,
Okay, I'm going to freak you out here. Ready? Okay. There's literally a line here on my notes. Lots of cooks in the kitchen.
100%. Because it was cool the first few years, with Robbin and me directing the madness. And those guys know, we knew what we were doing. Because like I say, I followed the Van Halen schematic. Blame it on them. My work ethic was like, we're going to kick ass. We're going to look great. We're going to do this. It was like, just go for it. Then it wasn't that anymore.
Well, what do you attribute that to? Is it ego?
Success.
Is it drugs?
Success. Everything.
Okay.
Whatever comes with success, And
but I'm speaking like a brother here, but like when I look at musicians that I've dealt with, when they can't handle success or the juice or the glare of the lights, I mean, at the end of the day, isn't it ultimately on them?
Yeah. But when you start wanting to do things against the grain and, you've got like mutiny on the Bounty.
on the pirate ship.
And they all, they all went after me and they all fell. So, I'm the last man.
So the
standing.
mutiny, are we talking the mutiny at the end of the 80s, early 90s period? Or are we talking
Even
about
now? I'm still fighting, but I'm the last man standing, and I'm proud of what we did. Yeah. It's like, guys, we did a good thing. It's like Marshall Burl says, "Hey, man, you had your moment. It was crazy, but it was a beautiful thing, and I just don't know why." It confuses me sometimes how. I don't know what happens to some people, especially when you give them something that really isn't theirs. They get a piece of something that they really don't know how to handle or control or, call me out, motherfucker. I know where it's at. They don't know how to do their I do. I made it work many times.
Is the center for you because, look, this was your vision from the beginning. You were doing this before they all kind of showed up.
Oh, 100%.
So even today, that's the thread that follows all the way back.
100%.
Okay, I just want to understand.
And they might, I don't think there's animosity for that or whatever, but I didn't have all the answers. I just, like I say, you created something really good and you give some away for just to be cool.
Playing the parlor game, Ratt, of all the bands that get kind of lumped into the hair metal category, I didn't. Sure. I never thought of you guys as hair metal. I just don't think that's right for you. I don't know why. I think Ratt is one of those bands that stands almost like Motley.
We're a rock band.
But Motley and you guys stand out of all the other bands. Yeah. I don't know why. Is the influences or the swagger or the attitude or the openness?
I think it was with them. It was just, man, our tenacity and.
But you not see what I'm talking about from a musical point of view?
Yeah.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, I get it.
Because there's a lot.
We were a little. Ratt was different. I can actually say that the band is different than a lot of the.
It's to me as a fan and observer of the time. It's
sure, but obvious. You know what? I have to, and I've learned to love the hair metal thing, because when somebody says hair metal, they go, "Oh yeah, you mean Ratt, Def Leppard," and then you're there. I'd rather be there than not at all. That's called business.
I'm just making a qualitative musical argument.
I get it. But
the reason I was going down this rabbit hole was. And I want to talk about what happened when Ratt kind of dissolves there for a hot minute. But Ratt, of all the bands, I would say even more than Motley, was uniquely positioned to not transition into grunge, but actually ride the wave that grunge brought in. Because the riffs of the riffs of Ratt are not that different than the riffs of alternative music.
Sure. Some of it is crazy.
It's kind of the same-ish.
It is. And that's probably.
I mean, you must have laughed when you heard grunge, because you're like, this is really not that different.
No, it's not at all. And that's why
the down tuning and all the.
Yeah. That's why I get off on these new bands, because I get it. I get where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I get their whole trip, but don't make mistakes that we did in our decade.
Oh, they're going to make the mistakes. Don't you worry about
Of course they already did. And that's
you know how it is. Somebody could have come to you in a time machine in 1982 and said, it's going to go like this, and you're going to do this, and don't do this mistake.
Sure.
And you'll still do it. It's just the musician brain.
That's right. And I'll tell you, but like Brill says, but I got to tell you, back to now, and actually, I mean, I'd play with a lot of my guys again, but some is unnecessary. It would only put a negative in the positive. Like when I'm out there playing, I want to have a good time. That's why I'm still out there.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for the buck. It's great, but stop giving and I won't do it. I love kicking back and feeding deers and chasing, doing whatever I do. But I'm always writing, working, whatever. So, but anyway, the bottom line is now when we go out, I have a great time. And I love talking to the fans, because they're so hardcore and sincere. I mean, besides the tattoos, Ratt tattoos, and their kids and clothes and presents, it's like a whole new world again. It's exciting and dangerous and colorful again. Kinda. Because some of us are out there embracing it.
Sure.
Like, I'll wear the same I wore back then. Why not? That's why you did it then. Somebody made a complaint about, musicians, or said something about musicians. And I kind of went, what are they supposed to look like? If you're in a band 40 years ago, why can't you at least have some kind of that character now?
Yeah.
What do you need to I don't get it. I still love, dressing up and looking like I want to do something out there.
I think people get confused by the OGs, if you know what I mean by that.
I do too.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're an OG, why would you change what you do or who you are? Because you're an OG.
Yeah. And I just, I think with me, I have just progressed with the help of direction, as a person, and besides getting sobered up and learning from mistakes, but I'm still, and I will still fight wars for the band I created,
Yeah.
It was an important, it's still important to me. It always will be. And so no matter, so that's why I really love, I mean, me and Warren are really taking this and like, man, it's 40-some years later, dude, we can do this.
Right.
We can have a great time. And that's what happened this year.
So let's take this walk here for a second, because I'm curious. I'm repeating myself, but to me, if I'm you, and I'm not you, but if I'm you and I'm looking at what's coming in early 90s with what is now commonly called grunge, you can't be thinking, we're not that different than what's coming out. Right?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So how do you view that period now in hindsight? Because on one hand, you're trying to start, you did Arcade, you did some records with Arcade.
Sure. And I did VD, which was Vicious Delight.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I did.
It's like brutal. It's like, and I intended it to be the shortest hardcore songs I could do.
Yeah.
And
your voice fits right into that type of music.
More like grunge.
But that's my point.
Yeah, and I love it.
So you're over here running this track, but of course, you know how the world works. It's like, well, you're the guy from Ratt.
They don't like it, and it didn't work. It worked for a bit with me and Freddie, with Arcade, Fred Corey. We had a great tour. We did stuff with, Bon Jovi or whatever. And then, but the record did well. And that was great songs. And then we did the second one, and it started getting dark. And that's when it went boom,
okay.
Arcade.
So over here, you're doing what you're doing, right? You're trying to do, and I've been there. You're going down that road, and then you're watching all these artists blow up. Some of them are legends, some are long forgotten, and rightly so, in my particular opinion, as being there. So we share some of that. But I'm saying, well, how do you view that period now? Because, like I said, people commonly do the thing, and it's kind of a lazy take. Grunge killed hair metal.
I don't believe that. I mean, they call it.
Well, it did because so many of the great bands of the hair metal world are still out there playing big gigs.
Yeah. Well, and deservingly so, some of them. I mean, the copycats of them, what are you kidding me? Some of those bands are being played more now because of this hair metal tag than they ever were in the 80s.
Yeah.
Kiss the ground, guys. Get paid.
Well, Sirius has the hair metal channel, right?
Right. And so, I didn't struggle with that term. I went, that's kind of funny. And then I started thinking about hair metal, and then, but when after Arcade, when I was going, oh, I'm pissed off, and Vicious Delight happened, it was no different than what was happening.
I'm saying, how did you, sorry to ask again, but how did you view the 90s bands? Because some artists are bitter about it. Some artists are like, whatever.
No, and you know what? Their turn is happening now. Just like the 80s turn was, I'd say the last 5 years had its moment, and now it's there. I think the same thing is happening now to the 90s.
Very much
now.
So.
Look at Korn, look at Limp Bizkit, look at Evanescence, look at so-and-so. They're doing huge shows. Will Hunt, drums. I forgot to say it. In fact. But and look how big they are now.
Yeah.
People still want the good.
Yeah. So you were cool with that musical scene at the time?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I enjoy. That's why it came off on me. It dwindled. It was put in my head to where I wrote these crazy, Vicious Delight songs. Like a dog, and
is that stuff's not on Spotify though, or is it on streaming service?
I don't know. I don't do Spotify. I don't.
I was trying to find that stuff. I mean, I found it, but it was like I had to dig around.
I'll get it to you. And actually, Bo Hill remixed Vicious Delight. And he was like, what the f*** is this? I go, Bo. I put him in a really good studio.
Yeah.
And I go, do your thing with this. Mix it with this. It's hardcore. And he didn't know what to do with it. But he did try to buff it up and whatever. And it didn't work.
Oh, okay.
No. And that's when I knew, wow.
So in these years where Ratt's sort of floundered or float apart or whatever, did you maintain any personal relationships with anybody, or was that thing you're kind of divorced and?
Well, Well, with Warren, like I say, it was just a while before that was inevitable that him and I would, it happened before, years and years apart, not playing or whatever.
Yeah.
And because he does this trip, I get it. But the other guys, I talk to Bobby quite often. And the other guy.
I'm talking about, but I'm talking about then, because you guys did reform.
Sure.
Did another album.
I did. That's what I'm saying. I thought, I actually would run into Warren occasionally on the downtime period. Nothing was happening. There was wars and this and legal and,
who was part of the contention who owns the name, or was it that stuff?
Yeah. And it's been back and forth, and the outcome will, inevitably happen, with what partners are left. And I don't dwell on it because it's like I say, look, we created this music, we created this entity. When Robbin was out of the picture, I knew it was done. I went, okay, we can go out there and play and, call it Ratt, and some people will get it and not, but it didn't work,
Why do you think it didn't work?
Well, when you throw in different components with no disrespect to some of the musicians, I mean, one guy had a Ratt out there, with all these different people. They replaced me with somebody and went out, and
there's those weird mid-90s where it's Ratt without you, which is hard for me to.
And then I had to step in '97 and put, regrouped everybody, put together a collage, and said we're going to get things in order, and tried it. It wasn't going to work. And I say it because, Robbin was such a big part of directing this monster, he really was. And besides being a heart and soul guy, he was really dedicated until he got lost, and once it was done, once he was out, it was over. I mean, I say, it was Mutiny on the Bounty, man.
In your mind, when does he go from just your typical partying LA musician to he's got a real
Detonator?
Okay.
The last album.
So that's 90...
91.
Okay.
Yeah, it was terrible. We should have never went on the road. The record was a mess, and you do what you can because you're ordered to, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's part of the business. I changed for myself, because I release my own records, I do my own thing, I have my own distribution. But back then, it was like, whoa, man. And then the business really started changing. You know what I mean?
That is true.
Here you got all these channels, here you got that. But then again, I found another direction of the business that I like. And that's like music for movies, TV, commercial, and, that kind of stuff. And I love some still what's happening, in the music business. That's something that I could give a about. And the touring part, it is a blessing that Warren and I got back together, because we forgot how important we were to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
You go, hey man, we're buddies.
Yeah.
It
is interesting when you've had those experiences with somebody, it bonds you in a way like people, obviously we didn't go to war, but it's I call it the foxhole. You can never not have that with each other.
That's right. Yeah. And look, you only live twice. So
sounds like a Ratt song title.
It might be. But when I say that, I mean, a lot of with me, I see things very differently with the business and my life. I separate the two.
Yeah.
I really do. Sometimes I don't know that dude that goes out there. Once I don't even, put it this way, I don't do sound checks. I want to walk right on stage and to unpredictability. I don't want to see the stage. I don't want nothing. I just want to go out there and do what I used to do.
Yeah.
With that surprise, that element. Yeah. I don't like, I don't know what it is.
I get it. I get it.
You know, and then I have a great time, and it's man, I see people smiling and singing. You know, it's a trip, man.
Yeah.
You gotta you understand how trippy
everything you say. I feel in here.
Our business is so weird, you know, and then you get into the business part that puts it up, because you know, it is a beautiful thing. People like you for what you do, and you're like, well, why? Well, your song and this and that's. Like, yeah, man, I meet people at airports and weirdest places, and I go, how do you even recognize me? You know, I got a dog tail up here looking like, and people go, oh, hey. I still go, wow, that's cool, man. You know?
Yeah.
Embrace.
I got a cool Warren story for you.
Yes.
So, 96, we released this big album, and one of the band members ends up leaving. So I end up coming out to LA in 97, making this depressing record called Adore. My mother
solo record?
No, my bass player later said it should have been a solo record. This is a different story.
She gave me her book. That girl?
Oh, no, you're thinking of a different bass player. I've had a few.
Okay.
Well, you've had a few bass players too. So.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is, so I was out here at Sunset Sound making this very depressing record. My mother had died. My mother had died, and I was like going through a lot. You know, it's life stuff.
Mm-hmm. And
a buddy said, do you want to meet Warren DeMartini from Ratt?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
So I made friends with Warren, and he used to come visit me in the studio while I'm making this super depressing record.
No way.
Yeah. And so
oh my God.
So I always have this love for Warren because he was around during the making of this record, and he would show up like an angel. He would just kind of come in and just talk to me, and we just hang out and talk guitar.
Whoa.
And I was such a fan of you and him, and it was like it was like he was this angel who would just show up on the right day at the right time and just kind of help me through this really difficult period of my life.
What a trip!
Yeah,
man. I'm going to tell him that. I'm going to talk to him.
Yes, please send him my love, because it's one of those things where it's like, you know, there's the public story of the record, but the private story of the record is Warren is intertwined into that record.
Wow.
And to this day, I still regret that I didn't ask him to play on it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And it wasn't because I didn't want him to play on it. It just was one of those things. It just didn't kind of work out. Maybe I felt weird just asking him. Like, I didn't want him to feel we weren't friends first, and all I wanted was something out of him. And but to this day, I wish he'd played on it.
Oh, that would have been crazy.
Yeah,
well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I got to tell you, I love so many musicians that are out there, because I know most of the real guys that are still out there 40-something years later, like a Rudy Sarzo, or somebody who really respects what they have done and what they do and what they can do, and smile about it, because it only happens once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's fleeting. And then we deal with, you know, who likes, who doesn't like. And then I could give you who likes, because that was our motto back then.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here is because I want to play whether you like it or not. I'm still going to sing. When I have to stop singing because I'm going to be 70.
Yeah.
I forgot how old I am. So it's like, what am I supposed to stop, or what? I can't wear cool clothes?
Okay, two more things.
Yeah.
And thank you for indulging me. We all live in this world of like halls of fame and top 50 lists and best song and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
How do you rate your band in the generation? I think it's always fair to start with the generation, because it's one thing to take a band out of their generation and say, how do they match? But you would have responded differently in a different generation than you responded to the one you were in.
100%, which is the 80s.
Sure.
That generation.
So where do you guys sit in that totem pole for you?
The group Ratt, I would say they sit firmly in the psyche of that generation. You know, I don't know. That's a weird one. I think that that was a good band. You know, I don't know how to put that. That's like, you know, how do I see Ratt? Well, we did it. You know, I don't know. We did what we were supposed to do.
But, you know, every generation has commercial. Like, some artists are more commercial and they're sellouts, but they have a lot of success.
Yeah.
and you as a musician from the inside, you know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah, we would never trade that for that. No.
Right. Okay.
So never did. That's why Ratt never went like this.
That's kind of what I'm asking.
It was destined to have, like somebody said something about Zeppelin, like they were only supposed to be here for those years. They weren't even together 8 years, something like that, right?
Well, they started, I think, 68, and Bonham, unfortunately,
80.
passed away when he was 1980.
So
12 years, yeah. Or 13,
years.
yeah.
So the way I see it is, that always comes into my mind with us. Like, we were only supposed to do it for that long.
Sure.
That was supposed to be our moment, and it was. And it still goes on because you hit a nerve.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing. Hey, round and round forever. I mean,
maybe a different way to ask you the question. From your generation, rock bands, who do you rate in sort of top 3 to 5? Who are the people that you go, I still respect their game because
definitely. Well, who's in the game?
No,
a Zeppelin.
I'm talking about your generation, your age range, the groups that came out. What are the ones that you still go, okay, they did it right, or I respect?
They did it right, and some bands had to pull out. But I mean, there were a lot of like Kicks, Motley, let's see. My job, you got Wasp. You still got guys trying. You not trying. You still have a lot of us out there trying to do it. Like I say, in one manner or form, for whatever reason their reason is to do it. But enjoying it should be the priority, because it just trips me out. It really does. It's like 40 years later, it's almost a surreal thing. Like, as you know that.
Well,
you're going, music's been around for 30 years.
All 4 members of Motley Crue are still alive. Start there.
Yeah. And, another thing is I trip on is they better knock on some kind of wood, because most successful bands lose somebody, But, there's a lot of great bands, but they're not the bands anymore. So put it this way, soon enough, we'll be delivering something, but the Sunset Strip experience is something that we're working on. That's going to be cool. Because soon enough, dude, you're going to have, if it's not happening now, the only thing out there that's going to represent the 80s is tribute bands.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
You got tribute bands for days. And why? Because it could be cheaper than the real guys, or
great songs, I think.
Yeah, great.
I think it's ultimately about great songs. Okay, last bit, because I didn't know that you'd been through this intense health thing. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. You use and abuse, and as we did, and I had a bout with cancer, liver cancer. It's kind of up, because when somebody goes, hey, you might want to get your things in order. Okay, look, I've been run over, I've had broken bones, rods, wires, this, that. I am the bionic man. No knees, kneecap, fake knees. But when that happened, I just that was it. Anyway, long story short, if it wasn't for Christy keeping me in order and us creating a beautiful support system for me, and business, we take care of business, so it's, besides having her support, we have business, and that keeps me direct drive,
I see.
in place. I don't think about, but I went in and had surgeries and this and that, and thank God that it's from,
Yeah. Did they give you because my mother had liver cancer. That's why it particularly struck me. When my mother had liver cancer in 95, somewhere around there, they said her chance of survival was 5% or under.
Yeah,
I know it's gotten better.
How long did she live after?
6 months.
Oh,
after diagnosis.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that's like my mom. She had liver cancer too, and they couldn't operate because it was so close to a main. Otherwise, she would have survived. I was lucky; it wasn't near anything weird. And they just went in and just took out, burn, freeze, whatever the fuck they do. But anyway, yeah. And so I'm very lucky, and don't take that anything for granted. What I do now is just try to enjoy what
you seem in a great place.
What I'm here, yeah, and I love. It's a trip because I really do like playing. That's you get into it because you like it. You write because I don't know where it comes from. I just you just write. You write great songs, so it's like. I can relate to people when I go, wow, man, that guy's a good writer. I'd love to write with them because life's short, man. And what we did, whether we did it or not, made it or not, or should have been bigger, or should be doing stadium tours. It doesn't mean to me, if it's supposed to be, it'll be.
Well, I'm sure we all somewhere in our brain think we should have been in a bigger band, but I think one of the reasons that your music endures so strongly is that it always had a root of musical integrity.
Yeah.
That even though you had a commercial focus, there still is like an edge to your. I hate that word.
Oh, real. We were real. We were. We didn't bullshit. And say, hey, we're gonna put on these little cars. You're gonna do this, and it was.
If I have any agenda talking to you today, that I would want to come through the camera lens is that. For people who think they know your music, they need to go back and listen one more time and really understand why your band is so highly regarded with musicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's a cool band and wrote great songs.
Thank you. And we tried. I can literally say all of us wrote, but then when it got to be like, we've got to write because there's publishing. We got to write.
Gosh, why does that sound so?
Somebody's going, here's $1 million.
Why does that sound so familiar?
Right. And then it turns different. And then, all those guys who do all the writing, all of a sudden we're bad men. Well, write songs, dude. I don't know what but
well, I always think of George Harrison, right? Imagine.
Oh, yeah.
He's writing, and it's like he's trying to outright John and Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the songs he wrote.
I saw something on him recently, and that was exactly his subject. And he was just smiling, talking about it like, well, at least I got a song or two in there.
Yeah. But to imagine competing against those guys in their program.
Oh, God.
But he did it.
Yeah.
And I would always say, but I would always say to my bandmates, because I wrote most of the songs for the band, would be like, just write a better song to me.
Sure.
Put me in a position to turn down a better song.
Right. And the thing is, as you know, when you write a song, you don't know if it's going to be a hit.
Nobody can tell.
It's going to be a hit. Well, let me tell you now, hey, AI, write me a hit song that sounds like blah, blah, blah. So where the business is going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's stop here because we have to. But
yes.
But one question for you, because I am a fan.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the great Ratt song that I probably missed.
Oh,
like you were sure it was a can't miss song. I was listening to your music today, coming here to see you.
A song called "Reach for the Sky."
Okay,
that we recorded
for
early
Out
of the Cellar. That I found and actually re-released on the 40th anniversary Out of the Cellar box set. That's what I was going to bring you.
Oh, was it sort of a forgotten?
Yeah, and I found it.
Okay,
and
Reach for the Sky.
It's called Reach for the Sky.
And you kick yourself because you didn't put it on the record?
It should have been on Out of the Cellar, but I get it. It's a cowboy song, just like Wanted Man.
Okay.
So Bo's probably going,
one of those.
Hey, you got two cowboy songs here. We'll take Wanted Man. That's the only thing I can think of why I did, because it's a great song. I found it 40 years later. It's in that, and I'm going to get it to you. And it's a bitchin' single, and we made a cartoon video of the song too, so you can look it up.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And that's just, the shit I like to do. But that, and because we played that song live in our set, early on with like, You Got It, You Think You're Tough, Reach for the Sky, Back for More, before they were even an EP. but why the song didn't make it out. But I got it out, and that's what I've been trying to do
reach
for the
sky.
10 years. But yes, sir.
Thank you. God bless you.
Love you, man.